welcome to another video. I know it's been a long time, but work and school and other things kind of got in the way. But I've been kind of working on these videos, shortly but longly. I've been working on the Megaman video. Trust me, there's more fighting game videos to come. I have at least 2 fighting game videos in the making as we currently speaking. And I wanted to hurry up and get this out the way because I wanted my channel to be both a Megaman video, Megaman channel, sorry, not video, but Megaman channel, and also to a fighting game channel. So it's going to be like kind of a mixture of both because I love Megaman so much, as you can see in my banner and profile picture. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's just hop right into the video. I know you probably don't really care about this, so I'll probably have on the screen earlier, but where to skip to in terms of where to watch the video or the start of the video. So in the last video, we talked about Megaman X6, and you heard me say before that Megaman X5 was supposed to be the ending of Megaman X series, at least because Keiji Ifune wanted to work on Megaman Zero, but like I said before, Capcom was like, nah son, we gotta keep this X series going. So that kind of plays into the part of why X5 is kind of the way it is. Just to give you a back story of what's going on. So to give a brief synopsis, at the end of the events of Megaman X4, or the Reploid War ended, Earth kind of went into a time of peace, and they were taking the time to repair the space colony that was damaged during the war. But unfortunately, Sigma was in the background, as per usual. We know the vibes. Sigma is in the back going, I can't let X and Zero rest. I gotta do something about this. So the story starts off with X and Zero trying to stop what seems to be another Maverick attack, which turned out to be Sigma in disguise, releasing the Sigma virus in Eurasia. So after the virus was released, this caused Eurasia to be on a crash course, while also creating Mavericks, but be on a crash course heading towards Earth, thus giving the Maverick hunters only 16 hours to stop Eurasia from crashing into the Earth, thus releasing the Sigma virus throughout the Earth, which is Sigma's plan. One of his plans. The secondary plan, which is kind of revealed throughout the story, is that Sigma also wanted to quote-unquote revive Zero back to his original purpose that Wily created him for, to be like the ultimate weapon against X, but he would need to be a Maverick for that, and he's one of the reasons why the Sigma virus exists, because it was contained within Zero, which we will talk about when I talk about Megaman X4 and so far and so. Because we're gonna go backwards with the story. I'm gonna start with 6. I think 6, to me, you can disagree with in the comment section, but 6 to me is like the really like ending definitive for the X series. I don't count 7 or 8. Reasoning being is just because I feel like those are just kind of branching alternate timelines, but for me 6 is where it definitely ends. So I went from 6 backwards, so we're landing on 5 now, thus telling the story of 5. So when it comes to the story, it's just that, it's just Sigma trying to revert Zero back to his original purpose. X is trying to save his friend, while also trying to stop the space colony arc, or Eurasia, from falling to Earth. So the game kind of splits this into 2 different factions, I could say. Like I think for lack of better words, I'll just say faction, or 2 different ways you can end the game. So you can either, or 3 actually, I should say 3, because you can wait for the time limit to go out, which we'll kind of talk about later in the gameplay, what the time limit kind of does for this the game. You can either use the Enigma shot or the Enigma cannon to end that, and that's what the Reploids, as you see here on the left side of the screen, I believe, are going to, each of these Mavericks are going to have a piece that can help you do the Enigma shot or use the Enigma cannon. And here on the right side, you're going to have characters who, Mavericks who can give you pieces for the shuttle. So each one kind of changes the outcome of the game. No matter what, pieces of the Eurasia space colony arc will hit Earth, but depending on how it hits Earth is your playthrough. From my perspective, what I felt was, since 5 was supposed to be the definitive ending, they tried to jam pack as much into the story for Mega Man X players who grew up with the series from X1 to now, X5. they tried to like give you choice. They tried to give you the ability to feel like the game is longer than it normally is, because most Mega Man X games are pretty short. You can beat them within a day. But with the going back and forth, what do you want to use? You figure out like one playthrough that, you know, you mistakenly let Zero die during the events of the shuttle. And it's very complicated. I don't want to explain it because it's very complicated on how to get this thing to work, or just even how it works. I don't even think they knew how it works. But in the ending scenario, Sigma fights X and or Zero or both, leading to the death of Zero regardless. The main ending, I guess spoiler alert here, is most endings end with Zero dying. Because like I said, Keiji Inafune wanted the script basically to end here for the X series and start over with the Zero series. So no matter what, Zero dies here. And unfortunately, X has to move on and clean up basically what was left of the Eurasia incident, well now considered the Eurasia incident. And that's pretty much the story of Mega Man X5. It's not as juicy in my opinion as X6, because in my opinion X6 had a really great premise of like the aftermath, like how do you deal with the aftermath of something, and like it kind of, for me, X6 built the world a little bit, because we're about to talk about the Mavericks and the other Reploids, and you're gonna kind of see they're really not that in depth as 6 was with the story with their Mavericks and Reploids. This one is like, some are like friends with old Reploids that you knew from like Mega Man X 1 through 3, or even 1 through 4, excuse me. So they're not really doing much with the Reploids outside of, hey, you know, just little lowball stuff, not anything heavy. But let's hop straight into the Mavericks here and talk about who the Mavericks are, what pieces they contain to help end the game essentially, and how they connect with our main characters. So here's Grizzly Slash. Grizzly Slash was an arms dealer. He primarily worked with his guns, his weapons. That's kind of why, like, on his stage, as you see on the screen here, it's just like a transportation or a train, because he's transporting weapons. As you see, like throughout like the stage, he's attacking you with the weapons that are actually on the train. So he's a weapons dealer, and he kind of just stops. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. He's like, I don't want, after a few years of being a weapons dealer, he kind of actually goes the opposite end. So instead of dealing the weapons, he ends up selling the weapons. So he actually thinks that Zero and X are there to stop him from selling weapons. He doesn't really think that they're there to his help, but he actually has beef with Zero, because Zero's actually the one who gave him the scars because they had dealings before. So it kind of opens the world to show that like these, like, they didn't just start today. Like the characters didn't just start arguing or beefing today. They've been beefing for a while, or they understood the world and how everything works. You end up beating him, and you go to his warehouse off screen and get the crystal ball, which is used to basically fuel the not fuel it, but like it's like a ball of energy that allows the Enigma to shoot essentially. So that's Grizzly Slash, and all the Reploids are going to be talking about from this side is the Enigma weapon. So the Enigma cannon, I'm going to be talking about the Reploids who hold the pieces for that, and then I'll get over to the shuttle and talk about the Reploids who hold / Mavericks who hold the pieces for the shuttle. So next is Duff McWhalen. To be honest, there's nothing on this guy. Like, I couldn't really find anything, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. I know he's appeared in other comics, and even I believe, don't quote me on this, I'll put it on the screen if I'm the deadline right now, but I believe he was also in the Battle Network series at one point, like a cameo. It wasn't like he was in the game, but as a cameo. But he mainly is just there to fight, and once you defeat him, you get the hydrogen. I'm gonna just call it hydrogen cell. You get a hydrogen cell for defeating him, which basically helps give like nuclear energy to the Enigma cannon. Next is Volt Kraken. Volt Kraken is kind of cool. I hate his stage, but I think he as a Maverick is pretty cool. And just as a side note, a lot of these Mavericks may or may not be infected with the Sigma virus. Some definitely are, and some are just kind of just going their own way and kind of get caught in the crossfire. Vault Kraken is one of them. He was part of the 6th Naval Unit. Fun fact, he was actually good friends with Launch Octopus. So him and it's ironic, like 2 basically octopuses were best friends in the series, which is actually funny to think about. And it's kind of cool to see the connection between Mega Man X1 through 4 of how this is a world. This is like a world of Reploids who get to know each other, who get to learn each other's ways and things of that nature. So it's really cool to see that. And he just kind of leaves and does his own thing because he's just not satisfied with how the hunters are going about, and he just gains doubts and just moves on. So by the time you're fighting him, he's over the conflict of humans and Reploids. He's just over conflict in general. He just doesn't want to be part of it. He actually doesn't want to fight. And once you beat him, you get an energy cart, which helps provide the power for the cannon. So I'm thinking like the plug or something like that for the cannon. And that's just Kraken's story. It's really short and simple. Like I said earlier, it's not really going to be heavy on what these characters can do. I'm just kind of going over the characters. I'm not going to talk about the stages. I think that's going to be kind of self-explanatory on the screen. As you see, Vault Kraken's got a stage with a motorcycle. You know, it's like these stages aren't memorable, so there's not really much to talk about when it comes to the stages of X5 compared it to X6, because I feel like at least with X6, the stages also weren't that memorable, but the nightmares kind of, the nightmare effects, were way better at kind of making the stages a little bit more memorable than X5 stages. I think X5 stages are just kind of jump forward, slash, or shoot. There's not really much to go off here. Izzy Glow is another character that I like, and he's another one that worked at the Laser Institute. I don't know if it's the same one. It could be different than Shield Sheldon's Laser Institute, or this could be a reference to who Shield Sheldon was trying to protect. I'm not saying that these two things are connected. It's just funny that 2 characters in a back-to-back series essentially worked at a Laser Institute. But Izzy Glow was a regular researcher. He didn't really have anything standing out for him outside of just studying lasers, and he ends up going Maverick, but he retains the majority of his mental faculties. Like, he's still there. It hasn't really taken over him, but he also doesn't want to go down as a Maverick, so he begs X and Zero to take him down. Like, he doesn't want to be remembered as a Maverick. He wants to be remembered as a scientist who did his thing. And what you get from him is a laser power brick. This helps fuel the laser that's going to be shoot through the crystal ball, thus propelling the cannon. So those are the Reploids who have the pieces for the Enigma shot. So now we're going to move over to the shuttle that Zero uses to kind of ram himself into the pieces. Now you can do these mutually, you don't have to do them in order, meaning I can get a piece for the shuttle, or I could get a piece for the Enigma shot. You could kind of bounce around, but it's not really advised because that just wastes more time. And with the hours, like I said, I'll talk about the hours in a second. They do technically play a part, and it is something you kind of can do to kind of speed up the end game process, but like I said, I'll talk about that in the gameplay section. So without further ado, let's start with Pegasus. Pegasus was just a young, pilot. Basically, he's a flying Reploid. He was doing his best. He was the youngest in the Air Force in terms of, I guess, how well he was created or how early he was created and rose up the ranks. Also being best friends with the Colonel and General from the previous game. So he actually knew Colonel and the General from Mega Man X4. I would assume that would make sense because if he, has his own fleet, because he's basically a general himself, it would make sense for him to know people from the Reploid Force, because he was created during that time anyway, so that would make a lot more sense for him to know these characters, which kind of leads into the fact on why he doesn't like X and Zero, because obviously in the game previous with X4, Zero and X had to take them down in order to stop Sigma because they were infected and things of that nature. So he actually has a disdain for the Maverick Hunters. He just holds a grudge against them, doesn't want to deal with them, so he fights them like when they get there. His base in Norway, which is pretty cool to have Norway be represented in a Megaman X game. I'm not Norwegian, but I think it's really cool to have a Norwegian character, essentially. Also, too, he gets the plane wings, or I guess shuttle wings you would call them, which would allow them to maneuver the plane, or excuse me, shuttle around. And that's pretty much just Pegasus stage. Then we're going to move over to Dark Dizzy. Not much is known about Dark Dizzy. He's pretty much just a enigma of a character. He was created actually by Sigma, fun fact, and knows a lot more about Zero than he lets on. Because I guess of his connection through Sigma, he probably overheard Sigma or knew of certain creations that came from Wily due to being a sub-creation of what Wily intended from the Sigma virus. He is very similar to Zero in, you know, not knowing his past that much and kind of keeping to himself and just kind of a lone wolf. He's got a very pessimistic view of life. He's not really caring too much about the people around him. He just has a complex about himself. And he's just there to, he doesn't really want to fight, but he ends up fighting. From him, you get the fuel tank that allows the shuttle to be propelled. And next is Burn Dino Rex. I actually really like Burn Dino Rex's stage. I think it's actually one of the most interesting stages in the game. He's really cool. He's based off of obviously a dinosaur or a T-Rex. So he's based in Somalia of all places, which is really cool. He's based in a volcano in Somalia. Does Somalia have volcanoes? I didn't even know that. But that's kind of cool. I would actually put that on the screen if that's actually true or not. But he's got a simple story. He's another weapons dealer. Not really much to outside of that. He's just literally another weapons dealer who also thinks that X and them are there to basically put a stop to his activities, but they kind of just need the piece from him, which is the booster engine, which gives the speed and striking power for the shuttle to move forward. And I believe last but not least, at least for the shuttle pieces, we're gonna get into one more Reploid that I've talked about previously, but the last one is Spike Rose Red. And he's actually one of the coolest, I think, designs that they've ever done within a Mega Man X5 game, or Mega Man X series game. I think his roses that he uses, his stage, is not memorable, but I think it's really cool to use the vines as a way of using the mechanic of the, I guess, grappling hook? I don't know what you would call that, but the rods that you can, you know, go back and forth on. He's a really weird one because they don't know who created him. He's kind of an amalgamation of different viruses that were created throughout the series. And he was in Ukrainian jungle that was kind of like a control unit. But then he gained a mutation through the Sigma virus that allowed him to basically create his own mini Reploids and things of that nature. So he's really like strange. And then when they tried to like experiment on him and figure out what makes him tick, they were actually getting infected with the Sigma virus. So it became this weird cat and mouse game of trying to figure out why Rose Red was able to do these things. But after Zero and X defeat him, they get the orbital engine, which allows the shuttle to maneuver through space, because obviously the space colony arc is in space. So they're going to need something that will allow the shuttle to move through space. So that's basically it. Oh, excuse me, I forgot about Dynamo. Dynamo, as I talked about previously in Mega Man X6, I said his original game was X5, and he's basically just a mercenary for hire. Sigma hires him to basically just slow down X and Zero from creating the shuttle, creating the Enigma shot, depending on which route you're going. So you kind of have to fight him. There's really not much when you defeat him outside of it wastes an hour, I believe, or 2 hours when you beat him. And that's pretty much it. It's not really much to talk about him. He's just a mercenary for hire. He's the one that released the Sigma virus on Eurasia, and he's just kind of in the way. So that's really much it. He's just a bounty hunter doing his thing. He's not really affiliated with anyone. There's no real backstory to him. That's it. That's just Dynamo. So Dynamo is really, I wouldn't say not important, but when it comes to like the bigger scale of the other Reploids who are involved throughout the series, he's kind of just a little guy. But that's it for the Reploids. And now we're going to be talking about gameplay. Gameplay, this is your standard, jump and shoot, man. This is your jump and slash, jump and shoot. There's not really much to be talked about here. The aspect of gameplay I kind of want to dig into is basically the shuttle and Enigma shot. These things are kind of, like I said, complicated. I'm going to try to give a quick synopsis. This is not going to be 100% accurate. If you want 100% accurate, check out the wiki below, or go check out Megaman wiki. They have the full, breakdown of how this works. But if you use the Enigma shot, it's basically like you can actually start the game and just immediately shoot it. There's a high chance before the game is even determined whether the Enigma shot will work. But if it does work, it destroys Eurasia or the space colony arc, and it will fall to Earth, and you could go straight to the end game. Like, legitimately, naked X or Zero, just go straight to the end game. So that's if it works. If it fails, you kind of are now forced to get the shuttle pieces and now have to use it, and you end up losing Zero in the process, kinda. So it's like a catch-22. You can either get it to work or it doesn't. I mean, 50-50, it works or it doesn't. Now, if you go the shuttle route, it actually has a small percentage of failing. I mean, if it succeeds, it kind of still fails. This one's kind of weird because it's like you lose contact with Zero, but then you have to later get him back because he goes Maverick, and then you can get him back. And that's only if it fails as well. Like I said, it's like really weird, but I'm not going to go definitely into it. Just know that these things have a chance of failing and not failing, which changes the outcome throughout the game. Then you have the third option, which I talked about before, which was the time frame. So you see throughout the game, it'll be like 20 hours or like 16 hours, and then you'll finish a stage, and at the end of the stage, there'd be like, it went from 16 to 12. So you wasted 4 hours on that stage. The benefit of the hours is if it goes to 0, you're forced to go to the end game. It either chooses the Enigma shot or the shuttle cannon for you, and you have a high chance of losing, basically all your progress, depending on, what's going on and how you frame the game. And I'm about to get to that in a second, because the hour system actually gives you better equipment and better, I guess, toys to use, for lack of better words, at the disposal of X and Zero. So you'll get like speed shot, speedster, things like that for defeating the stages at a lower rate. And like I said, look at the wiki to see which each stage gives you at an hour point. Because routing in this game is so bad. It is stupidly bad. Like, routing is so bad. And leading that into the armor sets. The only good armor in this game is the Falcon armor. There are 4 armors for X. You have Naked Armor X. You have Falcon Armor X, which is the best armor in the game, hands down. Well, outside of the Ultimate Armor, but we'll get to that in a second. You have the Gaia Armor, and then you have the Ultimate Armor. For Zero, I don't believe he has Black Armor in this one. I could be wrong. I'll obviously put it on the screen and say yes or no if he doesn't. But those are the 4 armors that X gets. And the 4th armor. If you start the game off with X, I forgot to mention that before, but if you start the game off with X, you get access to the 4th armor. If you start it with Zero, you get the Z Buster, which is the worst fucking thing in the game. Like, hands down, has to be the worst move in the game. I'd rather use the Gaia armor than use the Z Buster. It stops Zero completely, which goes against his entire character. He has to stop and charge it and then shoot it. It's like 30 minutes before one bullet comes out. Yeah, no. I'm good. I'd rather use the Gaia armor. But the routing in this game is pretty bad because of that. Because you need the 4 pieces from one stage to get the Falcon armor. The Falcon armor gives you accessibility to certain areas that contain the Gaia armor pieces. But what they don't tell you to get the Ultimate Armor is that I believe is the one stage before Megaman goes to fight Sigma. You have to play as Naked X, go to I think it's at the spot before the boss door, and then go find it. Because if you're playing Zero, I believe Zero can get it for X. I'm not too sure, but I've always done it with X. But this is kind of where the problem comes in, because depending on what route you're going through, this might end up fucking you over long run. Because if you are mainly a Zero player and you've been dumping all the heart refreshes, all the, all the upgrades on Zero, X gets nothing, which makes the end game stupidly hard because X is basically just beginning of the game X. Now, if you've been kind of like giving each individual character their own buffs, then yeah, you might have somewhat of a chance. But the gameplay just doesn't explain that to you, and they don't tell you that you might lose Zero. So if you're playing the game heavily on Zero, and you've got all the power-ups and upgrades for Zero, you're pretty much fucked for X. You can't go back and re-get them. You can only get the ones you haven't gotten with Zero, with X. And they try to fix that with the Gaia armor pieces that are around. I mean, Gaia armor upgrades. The Gaia armor upgrades allow you to go above spikes. You can, I believe, wall cling. So basically, the black armor just worse because you don't get access to cool weapons. You actually are just a tank that does no damage. So it's kind of buns. It's bun on butt cheeks. But that's pretty much it when it comes to Mega Man X5. I say, as this was another rough play. Obviously, it's not the best game to really get into the Mega Man X series. When we get to 4, that's when I'm really gonna say this is the definitive best X game. But that's a video for another time. This is gonna just end it here with just try and play it. It's not, like I said, this whole series of why you should play in the rough plays aren't to deter you from playing video games, but just to expand your repertoire of video games. And that's kind of what my goal is with this channel as well. Yeah, it may be fighting games and Mega Man games, but it's really just a gaming channel for you to come enjoy this long form content, enjoy when I'm just doing regular, gameplay content on my secondary channel. Just for, like, gaming is supposed to be enjoyed, not hated. Obviously, there's objectively bad games just as much as there are objectively good games, but a gaming experience is to the player, not to the world. So if you enjoy Mega Man X5, leave that in the comment section. Leave that there and tell me how much you loved playing the game. Tell me how much, you hated being stuck at the end game because you played with Zero and didn't have any upgrades for X. Be sure to tell me that in the comment section. But without further ado, this is the ending of the video, and I like to make sure that you guys have a great day, and remember, stay my X's. Peace.